Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing part 12 of how to create an endless runner using Unity and C#. Today we're going to be covering coins, so we're going to be creating a texture for our coin, and we're going to be doing some scripting so that we can calculate how many coins we've collected in the level, as well as how many coins we have collected all up throughout all of our gameplay. But before we do any of that, we're just going to fix up a problem we had from our previous episodes, which is if we just press play and change over, if you have it set to anything from 16 by 9, which you'll probably have it to 1136 times 640, which is exactly the same, but we want it to, well, I'll show you. If we have it on this and we do this, it basically does the same, but if we go to this, it's a little bit different. So in here, the pixel size is going to try to be ideally that, and in here, it's going to try and be ideally that. Basically, actually doing exactly the same thing, but once we have it running on devices, you will notice some slight differences. All the aspect ratio stuff is pretty in-depth, and it's something you'll have to look into a fair bit, but I'm going to try and show you a little bit in this. We've already showed you a bit, but to fix this little problem up is really simple. So we'll just come over to the canvas and come to our canvas scaler. And at the moment we have it set the UI scale mode to constant pixel scale. We want to change that over from that to scale with screen size. And now you see whenever we change this, it stays the same size no matter what. When beforehand, it was trying to compensate in really weird ways, because it was trying to keep the pixels the same size. So as you can see, all the UI here is the same size as what it is here, basically. So if we go over to this one, it gets smaller when the screen gets smaller. But obviously we want it to be a bit bigger than that, so we're going to half these values here, which is just the reference resolution, which basically is the resolution that you're designing your game around. And now you'll see that when we scale up and down, all the UI scales with our screen. So that's all we really have to do there. So now we can get started on our coin. And to do that, we're going to want to use the same program we used last time to create some pixel art, which is just Piskel. It's a free program you can use in browser or you can download. So just go to your internet browser and go to Piskel and click Create New Piskel, and you'll come to this screen. And this is where we're going to do our art. So we'll start off with that now. The first thing we're going to want to do is just select our color. Seeing it's a coin we're creating, we're probably going to do it as a goldish color. So we'll go for an orangey yellow. It's a little bit too orange, a little bit too yellow. Yeah, that will do. And then we'll just start drawing our coin. Whoops, we have set that as that, so we'll just go back to transparent. Okay, so we'll just start drawing our coin. For the coin, I'm going to do an ovally shape. We can do like any shape really, as long as it's representative of a coin, and easy for the player to recognize as a coin. So we just need to start drawing this. Just going to quickly do that. And now that we have an outline, that's a little bit too oval. I might make it a little bit thicker. Yeah, cool. So I'm more happy with that. So now that we have that, we'll come and grab our lighter color like we did with our other art, and we'll start adding some highlights. So for our highlights, we're just going to come in and add a ring. I'll explain this a little bit more in a second. So we'll come to a darker color. It's a little bit too dark. And so the reason we've done that is so if we zoom out, you can see that gives it a bit more of effect of the inside being curved inward, because we had the light in our game coming from this direction. So when it comes down from this direction, this side is being lit up because this part here is pushed down and this part is raised up, and that's why this side here is having a shadow, because the light is coming from here, and obviously the light can't hit this part because this part here is pushed down. So that's just to give it a little bit more depth. To make it a little bit nicer, I might just add a few more pieces in here, just so that it has a solid ring of yellow around it, which will make it a little bit more visible in the actual game. And then I might also just add a 1, just so it has a little bit more detail and isn't as boring. Maybe go a little bit lower. Cool. So that one looks a little bit weird, so I might just do this. So if we control X with a selection and then move it up, and control V, we can move that position, and then select this color and fill in all those points. Select our light color and fill in them. We missed one of them, and then get our dark. And then we've extended it a little bit. So cool. Now that we have our coin, we just want to export it. So to do that, we just need to come down to export like we did before and download as a PNG. And then because of my stupid settings, Photoshop will open, so we can just close that. And come into Unity, come to our download, and put it into our textures. So now that we have it into Unity, we can rescale it to the same size that we've scaled everything else, which is 240. Change it to point, and click apply, and drag it into our scene. Now it's tiny because we also have to change our scale, because this is how this particular game is set up. Normally you probably wouldn't want to change the scale here, you'd probably have this accounted for all in the part down here. But because we set this game up to begin with basically as a prototype, and now we've moved it forwards, this is basically just the way this build goes. So yeah, now that we have this fully in, we have it set all up here, and we have this set up, whoops, just come down here, we have this set up over here. We'll just rename it to coin, and then we should probably start scripting. So I might just move it down a little bit so it's in line with our player a bit more, just for testing. And we might just change a few little things before we start the scripting. So if we come up here to the coin in the hierarchy, we can change its tag to, well, we're going to need to create a new tag, which will be, which would just be, whoa, this is not going well, coin. And then now that we've created that, we can come back to our coin and add the tag coin. And the reason we've done this is because we're going to be using this tag to check to check how far anything with this tag is away from anything that the tag player is. So to do that, we need to come to our player and add the tag player. And now we have our tag set up, we can start our scripting. So to do that, we're just going to come down to our assets, go to scripts, and we're going to create a new script, which is just going to be called coin. And so we'll just open that up, and we can get to work on this. So the first thing we're going to want to do is just move our brackets, like we have in all of our other bits, and then we can start. So we just assigned our, where are they? Our tags. So we have a tag on our coin, which is just coin, and there's going to be multiple of them. And then we have a tag on our player, which is player, and there's only going to be one of them. So storing our player is going to be simple. We just need to have a new game object, which is going to be just called P for player, and it's going to be equal to a game object dot find game object with tag, and then we can just put our tag in here, which is our player. And so all this says is that we have a game object which is called P, which is the same as if we had a new public or private game object up here. But the difference between having it here like this and up here as a public or private is that a public would be open to every single script in the game, and a private would be open to every single part of this script, But if we just have it inside of our update like this, then it will only be available to our update. So we only need it in our update, so we'll just keep it in here just to keep everything optimized. So all it says is that we have a new game object that's called P, and it's equal to a game object that is equal to the tag player. So whatever game object has a tag player will be equal to P in this script. So now that we have our player, we'll set our coins. So for them, we need a game object, but because we have more than one coin in a scene, it needs to be an array. And just having the square brackets after game object will turn it into an array of game objects. And an array basically just means multiple. So it'll be a list of game objects, and it will just contain all of the game objects we have in the scene with the tag player. So it's going to be equal to game object, but instead of find game object with tag, it's going to be find game objects with tag. And the tag for this one is obviously coin. And now, yeah, so we have set a new array, which is just called game object, and we haven't set it a name, so that's what that problem is. We're just going to call it our current coins. And so yeah, we have a game object array called current coins, which is equal to all of the game objects with the tag play, not play, coin that currently exist in the scene. So now that we have both of them, we can start comparing their distances. So we need to check the distance between every single game object in this array to the position of our player. So for that, we're going to use a for each loop, which basically loops through the code for every single thing that you're feeding into it. And we're going to feed into it our array of game objects. So it's going to loop through every single game object and do the bit of code we need for it. So we have a for each, which is going to take in, which is going to put out a game object. I'll run you through all this in a second, which is just going to be called coin, and the coins are stored in current coins. And yeah, so that's all we really need for there. So what we have is we have a for each loop, which is all of our coins, well, our coin, which is all of our coins. Each coin will be called a coin, and all of our coins are stored inside of current coins. So for every coin inside of current coin, we're going to have a game object called coin, and it is going to run this script for it. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, we'll just get started with that. So to begin with, we are currently iterating through all of our coins in our array, but we're not doing anything. So we want to check the distance between the coin it's currently iterating through and, well, its distance from the player. So to do that, we need an if statement, which takes in just a vector 3. And we're just going to use a function that's inside of Unity called .distance, which is just going to calculate the distance between 2 points. So we just need to feed in the 2 points inside of brackets. So our first point is going to be called coin, and it's going to be coin.transform because we need the transform because that's where the position is stored. So we need transform.position, so we get its position. And then just comma, which means now we're feeding in our second variable, so we can check the distance between coin and whatever we put in here, which is going to be p, because that's what we set our player to up here. So p.transform, because that's where its position is stored, set position, and then this is one last little bit. We still just need to add a distance. So we have these two, but we haven't set a distance that's going to be checking for. So we want to check if the distance between these is less than 0.5. So now if it's the distance between these two objects is less than 0.5 in the world space, whatever is in these brackets will run. And this coin will, this coin is equal to every single, let me say that in a different way. We've stored all of our coins in current coins, and for every single coin we have in current coins, it is going to run through this. So every single coin will have this calculation done to it, which is just how far away it is from our player. So now that we have that, we can start with the actual scripting. Well, not with the actual scripting, with the actual body of the function, which is just going to be, if we hit a coin, we obviously don't want it to be in the world anymore, so we are going to want to destroy it. And so we're going to want to destroy the coin, so we need to write coin.gameObject. And so, like I said, in here we have all of our coins, and in here we're separating them into multiple objects that is called coin, and this runs for each one of them. So whichever one it's running for in here, so whichever one it's checking the distance for, is going to be the one it deletes, because that's the one it's currently going through. So that's a really simple way of just deleting all of them. So yeah, now that we have that, I suppose we can just show you how that works. So if we just save that and come into our Unity and wait for it to load, seeing we have our tags, all we need to do for this, seeing there's no variables that need to be assigned in the inspector, is we just need to drag our script into our scene. You may have run into this problem where if you zoom in with your scroll wheel, you can't zoom in very close to your level. The problem with that is, if you just press 2, you'll see that your camera's all the way over here and your level's all the way over here. But your camera is looking in this direction, not in this direction. So to fix that, just go backwards, and then once you get to your level, press 2 again, and then you can zoom in to your level again, because you've repositioned your 3D camera in the 2D space. That's just a weird little thing that's left over because Unity originally didn't support 2D games, and you had to kind of like hack your way into making them. But yeah, so if you ever run into that, that's a simple way to fix that. But yeah, like I was saying, now that we have both of our tags assigned, and we have this script that sets objects based off those tags and checks the distance and deletes the coin if the distance is less than that, all we need to do is put that script into our scene for it to run. So to do that, we'll just put it on our UI controller because it seems like the most sensible object. The reason why we're going to put it on our UI controller is because it's an object that isn't deleted, and it's just, yeah, it'll be the easiest. So we'll just put it on there, and because it is referencing both of the objects with the tags in the script, we don't need to assign anything to it. So if we press play, our player should delete the coin when he collides with it. And he does. Cool. So now that we have that working, we can actually work on making it so we actually have a scorer that keeps, well, not a scorer, a counter that keeps count of how many coins we have, a counter of how many coins we've collected in our current game, and then a separate counter that counts how many we've collected over our overall gameplay. And we're going to be using PlayerPrefs to do that, so let's just get started with that. To do this, we are going to do a similar thing that we were doing before, where we were referencing our UI controller object and then triggering one of the voids inside of its script externally. So beforehand, we were triggering the score plus to make it so our score got plussed every time. This time, we're going to add a new void, which is going to be called coins plus, and that will be triggered every time. So if we just come over here and we can have a look, we have our score plus, which we're triggering externally, and it was just plussing onto our score. We're going to need a new one of these, but for our coins. So we'll just copy this, paste it under it, and then we can basically delete everything inside of it and just rename this to coin. And then instead of new score, it's going to be new coin. And yeah, cool. So now that we have that set up, we can just save that. And this is where we're going to be controlling all of our coin stuff basically. But we still need to trigger this whenever we actually hit a coin. So if we come back to our coin script quickly, we'll just do that. So that script is on our UI object. So just like up here, we're going to want to set a new game object, which is going to be our game object UI. Okay, got caps lock on. UI. and this is going to be equal to our game object, because we already had a tag on this object because it's of an earlier script. Dot find game object with tag, and the tag for this one is just UI. So that just sets our UI controller as an object, and then we just want to trigger a component inside of a void inside of a script on that object. Sorry. So for that, we just need to reference our object and then get a component of it, and that component is going to be the script UI controller. And then inside of that script, we're just going to want to access coin plus, and we're going to want to put one new coin into that void. And so this will just get the object that we have the script on, and then put the coin in it. And yeah, so cool. Now that we have all of that, we'll come over to our UI controller and start filling in our void. So just like we did with our high score, we're going to be doing basically the same thing for our coins. So we're going to need to add some variables for that, which are basically going to be these, but for our coins. So we'll just change this to coins and change this one to coins. And then we also need to double these because we're not just keeping track of how many coins we've collected in our scene, we're tracking how many coins we've collected all up. So we need another one for our bank. Whoops. For our bank, and then a text for our bank. Cool. So that should basically be all the variables we need to set up here. So now we can come back down and start off. So when we're in here, we're going to want to do a few things. So we'll probably just want to change this over from being coin score to something a bit more appropriate. So we'll just change it over to new coins, or new coin, because this will only ever be dealing with one coin. And then we will just start actually working on it. So every time we feed in a coin, we want it to add to our coins. And so this is going to be coins plus equals new coin, which just basically says every time this gets triggered, we're putting one in over here. We're putting one into it, and so that gets added onto here, so one gets added onto it every time. And then that's what we're using up here to calculate how many coins we have. I'll probably run through this pretty quickly, seeing it's basically the same thing we have for the high scores, but yeah. So we have that. Now we just want to add our bank, so we need to add bank plus equals again, and then just new coins. Oops, not new. New coin. And now we have our bank also increasing. But besides that, we also need to do our PlayerPrefs. And we're just going to be setting an int here, which is going to be our bank, which is basically going to be where we store all of our money. So bank, and it is going to be equal to the value here, which is bank, which is just equal to how many coins we've found in here. And we want it to be plussed on top of whatever we already had in our bank, obviously. So to do that is pretty simple. We just need to go back up to our start function, and up here we're going to load in our bank from our PlayerPrefs whenever we start the game, so that our bank starts with however many coins we had last time, and then when we play again, it gets plussed onto our last amount and gets saved again and updated. So to do that, we just need to put bank, and our bank is going to equal PlayerPrefs dot get int, and we're just going to be getting that same int, which is our bank. And yeah, we want to get it as an int, so we just write 0, and yeah, cool. So now our bank is equal to whatever our PlayerPrefs bank was equal to, and our PlayerPrefs bank is equal to however many coins we have collected. So now that we have that stuff, we can do our actual coins, which we need to start doing the text stuff for that because we basically have all of the calculations done. So we can come up and we have our text. So we'll just come to our playing. Where is that? Our if playing is true or if it is false, which is where we were setting our score to actually say something or just to say nothing. And we'll just add our new text here. So to do that, we'll just copy our score text and paste it twice, and then change one of them over to bank and one of them over to coins. And the coins one obviously wants to say coins instead of score, and the bank one wants to say bank. And they're equal to bank and this one is equal to coins, sorry. And then we can just copy these, paste them down here, and obviously when we're playing we want our coins in our current level to be visible and being shown, so that one can be left, but we want our bank only to be visible in the main menu, so when we're playing the game it's going to just say nothing. But then when we're not playing the game, we want our coins from our current level to say nothing. Whoops. But we want our bank to say something. So now that we have all of that, we can just save that and come back to Unity. Wait for it to load. And then you'll see we have some new variables up here, which we just need to set. So we need to set our bank text and our score text, which doesn't yet exist. So we'll come to our score text and we'll use that as our template. So we'll just copy that with Control D, copy it again, rename the first one to bank, change its text down here to bank, not nank, bank, and then change this one down here to coins. Change this down here to coins, and then we can drag them in. So our bank obviously goes into our bank text, and our coins goes into our coins text. And then we'll just reposition them. So our coins text we can put next to that one, and our bank text can stay where it is, seeing it won't be visible at the same time as the score text, so we won't have that problem. But seeing these are gold, seeing these are money, we'll change the color to gold. So we'll just do that quickly. And now if we press play, hopefully all of this should be working properly. So now you can see in the main menu, you can see the bank. It's not really looking the best, and it's coming on top of the score. The menu, the main level. So we'll just move it up a little bit. Press play. Doesn't really matter for this, but you can always fix that up. So if we just press play, collect the coin, we get a coin. Cool. So we have one coin, and then if we die, our bank says 1474, which is obviously a problem. So we obviously want to fix that up a bit. So if we come down into here, come down into this part here, and I think this is probably where we're going to have the problem. So let's just have a quick little look at this. Okay, so everything in here basically looks fine. That's being done at the start, and that's being done at the start. So let's come back into here for a second, and we'll come down to our object, which is our UI controller, and we'll just press play, and we'll look at our bank, which should go up to 70 something, 77. So we press play, we get a coin, and it seems to be working fine. So I don't know where we got the 70 out of. So let's just go back into our game for a second. Go to our player. Also in our UI controller. So down here where we had this, we'll just grab this out, cut it, and we'll just put it into here for a second, just so that we can delete all of our PlayerPrefs and just see what is actually going on. Wait for it to load for a second. Press play. When we take damage, everything should have been set to 0. So yeah, now they're both set to 0. We press play, we collected a coin, so we'll pause our game, we go to our UI controller, and our bank is 1. So I have no idea why we inherited that 70, so let's just go like this, go back into here, 0, bank is equal to 0, bank is equal to 1. Oh, we still have that in there. So let's just remove that quickly and see if that was just something weird from me messing around with the game before. So wait for that load again, press play. Because all of this should be working perfectly fine. I've tested it and used it in games before, so I don't see why. So we hit that, press pause, come down to here, we have 1 because we just reset it a second ago. So we'll just die quickly, and then we'll come back to it. We have 1, we have no coins up here, and now our bank equals 2 because we have 2 coins in our bank, but we only have 1 coin in our score. So when we die, now our bank equals 2. Cool. So now that we have all of that working, that's pretty cool. I think that might be just about it for this episode. We might just place the coins throughout our level quickly, but I'll just do one and then fast forward the rest. So to do this, we're just going to want to make our coin a prefab, because we're going to want to have multiple of them. And then we can delete the coin in our scene and come down to our first block. So in this block, we'll just add our coin prefab, and then position it somewhere in this block, make it somewhat hard to get to, and hit apply. We'll come over to this block, and we'll add another coin, and then yeah, I'll just start fast forwarding this now. Okay, so now I have some coins applied into the scene. They're not really the best, but like not in the best positions, but it will do fine. So we'll just test all of these now that they're prefabs and in the scene. Whoops. So we couldn't see them, which is obviously a problem, but do they exist? No. So let's just have a quick. Oh, they do exist. So what was up with that? Let's just go through all of these and apply them again quickly. Okay, cool. So now you can see all of our coins are working properly. Cool. So I think that'll be it for this video. So in here we have basically just created coins and checked the distance between each one of them and our player. And we're doing it with tags, which is just like a pretty optimized way of doing it. There's other ways of doing it where you would have to have a script on every coin or something like that, but it just gets really messy. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. There's a few little hiccups along the way. Probably won't be doing a video this late at night again, but I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day.